Let's start it with our first news. Max Holloway has finally broken his silence following Charles Oliveira's bold call-out that sent shockwaves through the MMA community. During a recent live stream, the former UFC featherweight champion addressed the situation with his usual mix of humility, confidence, and excitement, while also giving fans an update on his hand injury and future plans. Right from the start, Holloway made it clear that he's fully aware of Oliveira's challenge and that the idea of facing him is more than intriguing. "I know, bro. I know already," Holloway said with a grin. "I see the chat, we know. We're here, bro. We heard the call-out. Tell him only time will tell now." His casual tone and lighthearted reaction mirrored the way he's always handled big moments, with calm composure and a touch of humor. Holloway admitted that the fight would be a fun one, especially if it were to take place at the rumored UFC White House event, something that has generated massive buzz among fans and fighters alike. "That would be such a fun fight, man. The White House? That's so long to wait, but it would be worth it. I'm not making any promises, though," Holloway said, hinting that while the matchup excites him, he's not ready to commit until he's back to full health. The Hawaiian star went on to acknowledge that this potential fight carries more than just entertainment value, it has history behind it. "Me and Charles, we've been talking about this fight for a while. We have some history," he explained. "He's blaming it on some type of injury before, so I guess we get to figure it out now. Maybe it's finally time." That sense of unfinished business adds an intriguing layer to the story. Oliveira, the former lightweight champion known for his deadly submissions and aggressive style, has always been a name Holloway respected and one he's been linked to on several occasions throughout their UFC careers. Both men have evolved tremendously since their early encounters, and a clash now would represent a meeting of two of the most skilled and beloved fighters in the sport. Holloway also gave fans a detailed update on his recovery from a hand injury that has kept him sidelined. "My hand is good, not completely, but it's getting better," he assured. "We're just waiting to get cleared for contact work. I haven't really been back on the mats yet, but I've been doing strength and conditioning. We'll be back sooner rather than later." It's classic Max Holloway, optimistic, grounded, and laser-focused on getting back to action. Even as he heals, his competitive spirit remains as sharp as ever. The possibility of facing Charles Oliveira has reignited excitement not only among fans but also within Holloway himself. If the fight does come together, it promises fireworks, a clash of two technical masters with endless cardio, iron wills, and fan-favorite personalities. Whether at the White House or elsewhere, Max Holloway vs. Charles Oliveira could easily become one of the most talked-about bouts in UFC history. For now, Holloway is content to recover, train, and stay ready for whatever the UFC throws his way. As he put it best, "We'll be back sooner than later, bro. Only time will tell." Before we jump into the next story, we have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon. It really helps us out and ensures you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. Former UFC light heavyweight champion Yuri Prochazka has made it clear that he's not pleased with Magomed Ankalaev, expressing frustration toward the Russian contender following recent comments made on social media. Although Prochazka is currently focused on earning another title shot against Alex Pereira, his lingering tension with Ankalaev has become a growing storyline in the division, one that could eventually lead to a grudge match between the two top light heavyweights. At UFC 320, Yuri Prochazka reminded the MMA world exactly why he's considered one of the most exciting fighters in the sport. After a rocky start against Khalil Rountree Jr., the Czech warrior stormed back to finish the fight in the third round, cementing his place as a top contender and keeping himself firmly in the title picture. Later that same night, Alex Pereira reclaimed his light heavyweight championship with a stunning knockout win over Magomed Ankalaev, a victory that left Prochazka visibly emotional as cameras caught his reaction octagon-side. Following the event, Prochazka expressed his eagerness to challenge Pereira again. Their first encounter ended in a dramatic knockout, and Prochazka has since been vocal about wanting redemption. However, while Prochazka remains respectful toward Pereira, his tone toward Ankalaev has been far less forgiving. In a recent interview with Home Fight, Yuri explained his frustration and confusion regarding Ankalaev's behavior, especially after the Russian fighter made comments about him on social media. "Man, right now, I really don't care about Ankalaev," Prochazka said. "He wrote some things about me on Twitter, some things that were disrespectful. Then when we met face to face, he acted like nothing had happened, like there was no tension or bad blood between us. I just didn't understand that." Prochazka went on to suggest that Ankalaev might not even be personally responsible for his online comments. "I believe that maybe those tweets weren't written by him directly," he added. "Maybe someone from his team manages that. But even if that's the case, he needs to understand that there's a responsibility behind what's said under his name." The Czech fighter's remarks shed light on the often overlooked issue of social media interactions between fighters, where words, even if not meant personally, can create real tension inside the MMA world. For Yuri, respect and honor are central to his martial arts philosophy, and and he's made it clear that disingenuous behavior doesn't sit well with him. Despite his irritation toward Ankalaev, Prochaska remains focused on his mission, reclaiming UFC gold. He believes a rematch with Alex Pereira is the fight that makes the most sense, both for the fans and for his own redemption story. "I'm ready to fight anyone, but of course, my goal is the title," he recently told reporters. "Alex and I have unfinished business. That's the fight I want." Still, the idea of Prochaska versus Ankalaev is starting to gain traction among fans and analysts. The two former champions represent contrasting styles: Prochaska's unpredictable, explosive striking against Ankalaev's technical, methodical approach. Even though neither fighter has officially called for the matchup, the tension between them could easily evolve into one of the division's most compelling rivalries. As it stands, the UFC has yet to announce what's next for either man. Prochaska's stock rose significantly after his win at UFC 320, while Ankalaev's reputation took a hit following his devastating loss to Pereira. However, should the promotion decide to pit them against one another, it would not only settle a personal dispute but also potentially determine the next true contender for the light heavyweight throne. One thing is certain: Yuri Prochaska isn't letting this issue with Magomed Ankalaev slide quietly. Whether their paths cross in the octagon or not, the Czech samurai has made his feelings clear. Respect must be earned, and accountability in the fight game extends far beyond the cage. Move on to another news. In an unexpected twist that caught the MMA world off guard, the main event for UFC 323 may have been accidentally leaked live on air during a post-fight interview. The incident occurred shortly after Michael Oswell's impressive victory over Lucas Almeida, when Oswell appeared to unintentionally reveal confidential fight information that the UFC had not yet made public. During his post-fight interview, Oswell casually mentioned that UFC flyweight champion Alexander Pantoja is scheduled to defend his title against his best friend, Joshua Van, at UFC 323 in December. The statement immediately sparked chaos online, as no such fight announcement had been made by the UFC or any official source. According to Michael, the interviewer recapped, "That fight is already announced." However, as fans quickly realized, it wasn't, and the apparent leak spread like wildfire across social media. Moments after the broadcast, MMA fans flooded X, formerly Twitter, reacting to the shocking revelation. One fan humorously commented, "Definitely not getting on that card now." Another wrote, "Dana, bring Joshua Van out here to face off with the champ already," while others joked about UFC President Dana White's likely reaction, with one viral post reading, "Dana must be punching the air right now." The whole situation seems to have stemmed from a simple slip-up. According to reports, Joshua Van, a rising star in the flyweight division, may have privately told close friends about the matchup, trusting that it wouldn't be leaked. Unfortunately, it appears Oswell either misunderstood or couldn't resist mentioning the fight on live television. Van probably told this dude, "Okay, I'll tell you my fight date, but you have to promise you won't tell anyone," one fan joked. What an idiot. As of now, the UFC has not made any official statement confirming or denying the matchup between Alexander Pantoja and Joshua Van, but the timing makes sense. UFC 323 is expected to take place in December, and with no main event formally announced, the rumored title fight could fit perfectly on the card. If true, it would mark Van's first ever shot at UFC gold, a rapid rise for a fighter who has quickly become one of the most promising prospects in the flyweight division. However, the bigger question remains: will Michael Oswell face consequences for leaking the fight? Historically, the UFC has been very strict about information control, often keeping upcoming fights under wraps until official promotional materials are ready. Revealing matchups prematurely can disrupt marketing plans, media rollouts, and negotiation timelines. Some fans believe Oswell could face disciplinary action, while others think the UFC may simply overlook it as an innocent mistake made in the heat of the moment. Others have proposed a different theory, that the leak may not have been accidental at all. Some fans speculate that the UFC might be intentionally gauging public reaction to the potential matchup before making an official announcement. Testing audience response through controlled leaks isn't unheard of in combat sports promotion, and given the buzz surrounding Pantoja and Van, this could be a clever marketing tactic disguised as a slip-up. Regardless of how it happened, the buzz around UFC 323 has now exploded. Whether it was an unplanned gaffe or a strategic tease, fans are hyped about the possibility of Pantoja versus Van headlining the December card. One thing is certain: Michael Oswell has unintentionally created one of the most talked about moments of the week in MMA. Do you think the UFC will punish Oswell for leaking the fight? Or could this have been part of a bigger promotional strategy? Whatever the truth may be, one thing's clear: UFC 323 just became a lot more interesting. Move on to another news. After another strong showing inside the octagon, Deiveson Figueiredo has made his intentions crystal clear. He wants to challenge the reigning UFC bantamweight king, Merab Dvalishvili. The Brazilian powerhouse, a former flyweight champion who has successfully transitioned to the 135-pound division, wasted no time calling out the Georgian juggernaut following his latest win. However, while the potential matchup has immediately captured fan interest, there are questions about whether it makes sense for the UFC to book the fight right now. Coming off a solid performance, Figueiredo used his post-fight interview to call all for the biggest test possible. I want to fight the champion, Merab-Dvalishvili, he declared. It was a bold statement, especially considering Figueiredo's recent track record. Before his latest victory, the Brazilian was coming off back-to-back losses to Petr Yan and Corey Sandhagen, both of which had temporarily derailed his hopes of making a quick run toward the title. Still, Figueiredo has never shied away from challenges, and his determination to face the division's elite remains unwavering. While many fans respect Figueiredo's confidence, others are skeptical about whether the UFC will grant him a title shot so soon. After all, Merab-Dvalishvili has been on a dominant streak, tearing through nearly every top contender at bantamweight, including the likes of Petr Yan, Marlon Chito Vera, and Henry Cejudo. The Georgian wrestler's relentless pace, pressure, and cardio have earned him a reputation as one of the most difficult puzzles to solve in modern MMA. Interestingly, Figueiredo is one of the few top-ranked bantamweights whom Dvalishvili hasn't already faced, which adds a fresh dynamic to the conversation. The stylistic clash between Dvalishvili's grinding wrestling and Figueiredo's explosive power and submission skills would make for an intriguing and unpredictable fight. Fans are already debating whether Dvalishvili could handle Figueiredo's punching power, or if the Brazilian could withstand the champion's suffocating pace in chain wrestling. Despite doubts about the timing, Dvalishvili himself appeared open to the idea. Following Figueiredo's recent win, Merab took to social media to congratulate his potential challenger. "Congratulations, Deiveson Figueiredo," Dvalishvili tweeted. "Great performance against a top opponent. I'm waiting for you." The tweet immediately sent fans into a frenzy, with many interpreting it as a sign that Dvalishvili wouldn't mind defending his title against the former flyweight champion. Figueiredo quickly responded with class and enthusiasm, expressing his respect for the Georgian and his eagerness to step into the cage. "Thank you, brother," he replied. "Let's make it happen. I'm ready." His response showed that the admiration between the two fighters runs deep, but so does the competitive fire that fuels both men. Whether or not the UFC chooses to move forward with this fight remains to be seen. With rising contenders like Sean O'Malley, Umar Nurmagomedov, and Corey Sandhagen still lurking in the title picture, Figueiredo might need one more statement win to officially earn his shot. Nonetheless, the idea of two champions from different weight classes, both relentless, powerful, and technically gifted, squaring off inside the octagon is a thrilling possibility. If booked, Merab-Dvalishvili vs Deiveson Figueiredo would pit one of MMA's most relentless wrestlers against one of its most dangerous finishers. It would be a classic battle of pressure versus precision, endurance versus explosiveness, and for fans, it could be the kind of fight that defines the next era of the bantamweight division. For now, both men seem interested, the fans are buzzing, and the UFC has another potentially blockbuster matchup on its hands. Whether it happens next or down the road, the stage is already being set for a war between two of the sport's most respected warriors. Move on to another news. Former UFC middleweight champion and current analyst Michael Bisping has shared an intriguing idea that has caught the attention of MMA fans worldwide: a super fight between featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski and bantamweight champion Merab-Dvalishvili. With both fighters currently at the top of their respective divisions and waiting for their next official matchups, Bisping believes this could be the perfect time for a champion versus champion clash. In a recent video posted to his YouTube channel, Bisping discussed the uncertainty surrounding both champions' next fights. "It remains to be seen who Alexander Volkanovski and Merab-Dvalishvili will fight next," Bisping said. "So, why not have the champions square off against each other?" He pointed out that Dvalishvili is coming off a dominant title defense over Corey Sandhagen, while Volkanovski reclaimed the featherweight belt in April with a decisive win against Diego Lopez. According to Bisping, the UFC has entered an era where fighters frequently move between weight classes, and if others can do it, why not Merab? If everyone's jumping around divisions, if Khamzat Chimaev can fight Alex Pereira, if Pereira can fight Jon Jones or Tom Aspinall, and if Conor McGregor can move up and down without defending a belt, then why can't Merab go up? Bisping asked. "He's beaten almost everyone in the top 10 at bantamweight. He's literally lapping the division. Tell me you wouldn't want to see a fight between Alexander Volkanovski and Merab-Dvalishvili. That would be incredible. I'd absolutely love to see that fight. It's certainly an appealing idea." Both men are known for their relentless pressure, elite conditioning, and championship mentality. Volkanovski, one of the most well-rounded fighters in MMA history, combines technical striking with top-tier fight IQ, while Dvalishvili brings unmatched cardio and a grinding wrestling style that breaks opponents over time. A clash between these two champions would be a fascinating test of willpower, skill, and endurance. However, while Bisping is all in on the concept, it doesn't appear that Merab-Dvalishvili has any immediate plans to move up to featherweight. The Georgian star seems fully focused on maintaining control over the bantamweight division and fending off challengers like Deiveson Figueiredo, Sean O'Malley, and Umar Nurmagomedov. Meanwhile, on the featherweight side, there's plenty of speculation about who Alexander Volkanovski should face next. During a recent episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy, Daniel Cormier offered his own take on the division's future. "The title shot for me is Volkanovski versus Lerone Murphy," Cormier said. "Then I'd book Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez, fighters, those two have history. Remember when they were almost fighting at press conferences? It's personal, and it would be a fight people pay attention to. The winner could easily become the next #1 contender. Cormier also addressed the rising featherweight contender Movsar Evloev, who has been quietly building an impressive winning streak but has yet to become a household name. The problem with Movsar, Cormier explained, is that he's not well known yet. I'd match him up with Youssef Zalal. Zalal's on a big run. If Evloev beats him, that pushes him right into a title fight. If Zalal wins, it's a huge breakout moment for him. As for former bantamweight king Aljamain Sterling, Cormier suggested that he serve as the backup fighter for the next featherweight title bout, staying ready in case of injuries or cancellations. While fans might not see Volkanovski vs. Dvalishvili happen immediately, Bisping's proposal highlights the growing appetite for cross-divisional superfights in the UFC. Both champions are dominant, disciplined, and respected across the sport, making a matchup between them a true fan dream. If the UFC ever decides to make it happen, a Volkanovski vs. Dvalishvili superfight could easily become one of the most intense, technical, and high-paced battles in modern MMA history. For now, though, the world waits to see how both divisions unfold, and whether the Count's fantasy fight could someday become reality.